Hi, everybody. Welcome to Cluster API Release Team v1.11, our weekly check-in meeting. We are a subproject of SIG Cluster Lifecycle, and we abide by their rules of conduct, which I'm sure you all know boil down to let's make this a friendly, welcoming place for everybody to participate. With that, let's go into the agenda. If you want to put your name in the attendees list, feel free to do so. Um, First thing on the agenda is, well, if we go to the tasks list, this is actually, maybe we haven't updated it since I don't own this. But this is week 14, but since we did an additional beta, these tasks are essentially happening this week. So, long story short, I am getting started on assembling the next release team, which will start in another month or so. If you've seen, what I've been doing, it's not rocket science. Things are very well documented, and if you can read instructions and all that, it, it's a pretty approachable job. It's a couple hours a week, maybe a little more time than that. So anyway, looking for someone to replace me, somebody to step up and be CI team lead. Uh, Mohammed, I don't know if that's interesting to you or not, or you, Alima, and but we'd like to, the whole idea here is to get people involved and not necessarily to have it be a long-term assignment, but just to get people used to the release process, get more into CAPI CI, and then those things are really applicable to all Kubernetes projects. So if you did this and you wanted to be part of the Kubernetes release team, a lot of things would look really familiar. And the Kubernetes release team is a pretty big deal. Not that we're not doing good work here, but that's kind of a full-time job. You can ask Jeremy Rickard. Anyway, if you're interested, if you're watching this recording later and you would like to volunteer again for the next release cycle or step up and be a team lead or the release manager, please let me know. Everything is wide open. And thank you all so much for your help this time around. I think it's gone pretty well. Um, and feel free to interrupt me while I'm talking here. Otherwise, I'm just going to race through everything. Um, Next milestones. Today, we're doing the beta 2 release. Chandan couldn't make it for the meeting, but he's already done the release notes, and I looked at them and they look fine. So we'll get a maintainer to approve them, and then we should be off to the races for beta 2. And as you can see from the task list here, it's just 1 week, and then we cut the release candidate, which is a little more involved because this is where we actually create a different branch. Right now, everything's going into main. As soon as we go into RC, we're going to create a v1.11 branch, and everything will have to be cherry picked into it. And the main branch will be freed up again for more open development, things that we don't necessarily want to go in the release. So that'll be next Tuesday. And there's just a little more work to do in terms of creating the branch. Not something I can actually do because I'm not a maintainer, but I'll work with the other maintainers to get that done. Update the milestone as a PR. Create jobs and dashboards will be a PR for one of us to do. And then there's some comp stuff. So that's next week. And then after that, another week, another release candidate. And then assuming everything goes smoothly, another week after that, we're at the actual release date. And then we do some patches. And then 2 weeks after that, which usually coincides with which will hopefully coincide with when Kubernetes 1.34 itself is actually released. So we can embrace that and say we support it. That will be week 19. But at that point, there's not a lot left to do, and most of the volunteers, most people have probably flaked off, and hopefully we have the new 112 release team in place at that point. That's how it usually goes. So, um, status update from the CI team. Anybody want to step in? I posted a little update thread, but it was very brief. Um, I as you're probably well aware, the ongoing thing is that we have that IPv6 related failure for the jobs running in the EKS cluster. And I have put a test PR out there yesterday and we merged it and then updated a little. That is just we took a kind job from over in the kind space, nothing to do with CAPI really, and copied it over into the CAPI space and ran it in the EKS cluster. And I need to go check up on it again because maybe something was misconfigured the first run, but I think it's failing the way we expected. So that essentially that should prove that the EKS environment is somehow not configured correctly now to run IPv6 stuff. And I know the tenor of the thread where we were discussing this was kind of like, okay, and then you guys can use that to get a root cause and figure out why. Um, Maybe we'll do that, but I'd kind of like to push back at this point and say, hey, EKS is not conformant enough to run the conformance tests. Here's the proof. And that I would think that would be enough to get them to say, oh, well, we should go figure out what we did on July 3rd that broke everything, or we should reconfigure the cluster so it actually explicitly supports IPv6, which is something one of the Amazon engineers uh, posted in that thread, but then we never heard about that again. So I kind of think that we should get them to fix it, but we shall see. Uh, but sorry for talking so much. The summary is things look pretty much as they did yesterday when Alima reported. There's a couple flakes. They look like they're known flakes, and we can do a release at least. It would be really nice. I'd really like to get the IPv6 failure, which is just constantly failing on a couple jobs, cleaned up before we get to the release candidate, because it's kind of hard to look past it. But and then for a status update from the comms team, I don't know if uh, anybody wants. Chandan's not here, but he posted the PR, so I guess we're good to go. We already looked at the tasks. Let me look at the improvement board and see if there's any movement here. Um, this all looks pretty much like it did last time as far as I recall, unless anybody has anything to point out. Um, okay, and that's all we had on the agenda. But what questions or ideas or anything does anybody have?
I can add something related to the CI. So
Yes, please.
this yeah this IPv6 this job on the PR I tested the job that you added. It has some configuration issues. I have pushed some changes, but it's still failing. Not because of the failure that we see in the CA, but it's some other failure. Um, I have pushed another change. I have asked Stefan to check it, but it's not merged yet. So let's see. Once that is merged, we can see if that job fails with the CI failure or not. Um, Other than
This is
that,
a this is a change after we removed the. I had that line where it was like CD dot dot kind. We took that
yes,
out,
yes.
but this is an additional change to. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll go
this is
look.
yes, yes. This is an additional change. So now, after removing that line, the test started running in cluster API. So it was
Okay,
going into the cluster API folder, and then it was running there.
okay,
But the job we need to run the job in not in kind but in Kubernetes. We need to clone Kubernetes repo and run in there. Because the test that we are copying and they are running in Kubernetes repo, but they are running a kind test. So it's a shell
right,
script
right.
that that is coming from kind, but we are running it inside a Kubernetes repo.
Oh, so
So
we started in the wrong place, but we were already cloning the Kubernetes repo, weren't we? Or did
yes,
we?
yes, yes. We were
Okay,
already cloning, but we were not setting it
the wrong
as a
place.
working directory or workplace. Yeah. So I have pushed a change for that. Uh, I will tag you there also. Let's
Great.
see how it goes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
just
Thank
wanted
you so
to.
much for following up on that. It's really hard to test stuff in test infra. You kind of have to.
Yeah, I was hoping that the test infra guys will fix this themselves. We don't have to do much, but it seems like we have to prove our point somehow.
I guess
Yeah,
so. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, thank you very much for helping with that. I'll go look for your PR.
yeah. I will tag you there.
Cool. Um, Anything else anybody wants to discuss? If you have anybody who's kind of newish to Kubernetes and wants a good volunteer thing, tell them about the release team. I think it's a way to get seen and make some actual impact without hopefully spending a huge amount of time on things. But all right, thank you very much, everybody. Catch you next week.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.